friends, welcome back to the Photoshop Basics for Scrapbooking class. In today's video, we are continuing to work with journaling cards, and we'll actually be working with journaling cards until the end of this month. But today's topic is going to be isolating elements inside of a journaling card. So there are times when there could be an element on a card that you only want that specific element selected. Today, I'm going to show you how you can use both Photoshop and Photoshop Creative Cloud to isolate elements in a journaling card and use them in a different way, perhaps as ephemera or titles or all different kinds of things. So let's head over to the computer so I can show you how this works in both of those Photoshop programs. All right, friends, we are starting here inside of Photoshop Creative Cloud like usual, and I've actually got two cards that we're going to be working with both here and inside of Elements. These both came from, I believe, the June Stories by the Month kit, but I pulled them out specifically because they had some larger elements that I thought would be really fun to isolate from the digital journaling cards. So I have a 3x4 here that says a little something I loved about today in this circular shape with the sun points in there as well. I also have a 6x4 card that has 4 different white frames with a different colored background, anywhere from this lighter pinky, peachy color all the way up to a darker color here. So let's start with the circle card. The tools that I'm going to be showing you here inside of Creative Cloud, many of them will relate to Elements as well, except for one. There is one tool that you will not be able to use inside of Elements, but that is available to use here inside of Photoshop Creative Cloud, or as far as I know, there is not the same tool inside of Elements. And we'll get to that in just a second. So in the toolbar to the left side, I am going to be using two of the different tools here. The first one is called the Quick Selection tool. It looks like a paintbrush with a dotted line around the outside edge of it. Or I'm also going to be using the Magic Wand, which looks like a magic wand, right? If you want to toggle between the two of these, you just need to click and hold on the icon that's showing up inside of the toolbar, and then you can go into the sub selection or the sub menu and pick which tool you want to use. So let's start with the Magic Wand tool because it's a little bit easier to use than the Quick Selection tool. The way the Magic Wand tool works is you can click onto an element on whatever you're working on. In this case, it's a journaling card, and it's going to quickly select the entire shape that has the same color as what you clicked on. So for example, if I click on this little triangle portion of the sun, it's going to quickly select the entire triangle. I don't have to draw out the shape in order for it to be selected. If I were to click on a second one, it's going to deselect from the first and reselect the second. Now let's say I want to select more than just one of those triangles. You can then hold the Shift key on your keyboard, and it's going to bring up this little plus sign underneath the Magic Wand. And that means that whatever I click next, I'm going to add to what I have already selected. So now I can click on additional triangles and select more than just the one. I can also click on the circle in the middle and add that to my shape as well. It's a little trickier with these words because you have to select perfectly on top of the letters in order to get them added in. And I'll show you an easier way to deal with that here in a second. But this is a great way to isolate portions of your element, portions of whatever it is you're working with, and to not select the outside portion. So now I've got the entire sun, all of the rays, the middle portion, and I don't actually have many of the words. I have this Y, part of the A, part of the D, so that's a little funky in there. With this element selected now, I can now right click while it is selected, and this is going to give me a menu of items or things that I can do to the portion that I have selected. So I can deselect it, which is going to just get rid of all those marching ants and it's going to go back to the first portion. I can select the inverse, which is going to deselect what I have currently selected, and instead it's going to select everything else. So let me do this just so you can see what this looks like. If I select the inverse, I now have this portion, the striped portion of my card selected, and these in between kind of white speckly portions as well. And it's also now selecting the text that before I did not click on. So let's go back. We're going to select the inverse and go back to our original here. So that's just a easy way if you're having, I suppose if you're having a hard time selecting part of your card, you could try selecting the opposite pieces and then right clicking and using the inverse, select inverse selection here, as a way to select the portion that you actually wanted. So there are other pieces in here. So feather, select and mask, save selection, make a work path. These I don't typically use. However, these right here, this layer via copy and layer via cut, I use all the time. So let's say that I wanted to cut out the sun from my journaling card. What I can do with the sun selected, and in my menu here, I'm going to select layer via cut. When I do that, you'll see down here in my layers panel that I now have 2 layers instead of the 1. I can toggle these on and off in order to see them or unsee them. So for example, if I click the little eyeball next to layer 1, it's going to take out the portion that we cut out. So that is the sun portion, and you can see I still have the words because I didn't get those selected. But everything else is as it was. So let's bring that back up. On the opposite side, I can also turn off the eyeball on the background or the original card, and what's going to be left is my sun, the rays, the middle, and then those portions of the letters that I did actually select there. So this is a really easy way to isolate these pieces from your cards. I'm going to go ahead and put everything back together and deselect, so I can right click and deselect, or you can use the hotkeys Control and the letter D, or Command and the letter D, and it's going to put my card back to the way it was to begin with. So that's our magic wand tool, right? It just quickly selects anything that has the same color around the pixel or the exact point at which you select. Now, let's toggle back to the quick selection tool. The quick selection tool is going to work more like a paintbrush, which is why the symbol for the tool itself is a paintbrush. So what you want to do is you want to click and hold down your mouse, hold down that button on the mouse and drag it around to select the portions that you want. So I'm going to start here with the little ray here, and I guess I'll back up to go forward. With the magic wand tool, I just needed to click once in the area and it would select the whole shape in that same color. If I click once, oh, actually, it does it here too. Well, it doesn't always do it. There we go. So here's an example. If I were to click on the white portion here, it's just going to click and select part of the white, not all of the white in the surrounding areas or all of the white that the point I am clicking touches. So instead you will click and drag and it will do some quicker selection. So as I drag around the circle, you can see that it is also selecting portions of the stripes. And I don't want the stripes, I just want this big circle, and we're going to leave that speckledy portion intact this time. So what do you do here? Well, you can see that the middle of this circle has a plus sign, which means that anything I click now and drag onto, it's going to add to my original selection. I can now hit the Alt key and the plus sign changes to a minus sign, and I can now remove portions that I don't want to be selected. It is not a perfect science. It might be a little bit jaggedy sometimes, and you just have to kind of get in there and do your best to get as close as you can. But now I've got my circle selected, so I can do the same thing. I can right click, and then I can layer via copy. I can layer via cut. Let's do layer via copy this time so you can see the difference. So for this one, you still get the 2 different layers, just like we did before. But if I turn off the eyeball on the new layer I just created, you'll see that my original journaling card is still intact. Let's bring that back up, and now this time let's hide the main card. When I do that, you can see that second element, or layer 1 in this case, which is the portion that we isolated and created a copy of. So 2 different ways to really do the same thing. But you'll find as you're working through your digital projects that they both come in use for various reasons. I kind of go back and forth between the 2, whether I copy it or cut it. Different, I suppose they both have their place, but really it's 2 ways of doing the same thing. All right, so that is the quick selection tool. With the magic wand tool, you also have the ability to use the minus sign. So like, let's say I'm adding a bunch of these together, but now I decide I only want 3 of them. You can also use the Alt key and it will change the plus to a minus, and then you can deselect the ones that you don't want. Okay, so let's switch over to the frames. So here are the frames. Now here you can do the exact same thing. So I can use the magic wand tool and I can click in order to select all of the pink parts. If I use my shift key and add the additional pink parts, you can even get in between all of these little, which would take a lot of time, but you can get in between all of the little scallops there in order to select everything that's pink on this page. On the opposite side, you can also select all of the white. It's a little bit trickier because the white is thin, but there we go, right? We kind of got it. Kind of. It's a little harder. It's harder because the elements are skinnier. Now I can totally zoom in and that will make this easier. And then I can use my magic wand tool and really get in there, but also it still is kind of complicated, right? Okay, so let's zoom back out, deselect everything, and then instead this time let's use the quick selection tool. So for the quick selection tool, I can do the same thing, kind of click and drag around to see if it will grab the whole frame. Instead, it's going to grab the whole square. That could come and help in handy, if you wanted to cut those out and just have the one individual square. But what if you just wanted the frame, right? For this, I could try to do the minus and get rid of all the pink around the edges, but it's just not perfect. It's just not really doing what I want it to do. So let me show you a third way that you can select an item in order to isolate it from the card. For this one, we're going to use the select menu up here, and then we're going to go down to color range. When we bring up color range, you have the ability to increase or decrease the fuzziness of it. The more you decrease it, the more precise it's going to be on the color, but you might get a little bit of the extra color around the outside. And maybe I can explain this better here in a minute. So what I want to do is I want to decrease my fuzziness so I can select the white. Now, if I were to select inside of one of these circles, it's going to essentially pick up on whatever color I've added into that square. So this one is that really bright peachy pink. This one is the really light peachy pink. This one is maybe yellow, I can't remember, and this one is a different color. But what I actually want to select is the white of all of these frames. So I am going to use my color picker, this tool right here, to click on the line of one of those frames. Now anything that is white is what this program is going to select. And anything that is black, it is not going to select. So from here, I can hit the OK button, and now you see that there are marching ants around all of those white frames, all 4 of them, which is fantastic. From here, I can now right-click and do either my layer via copy or my layer via cut. Let's just go ahead and layer via copy it. Now, if I get rid of my card, it's very difficult to see, but there are white lines. In fact, let me go ahead and add some color into the background so you can see what this looks like. So, okay, kind of like that, right? So you can kind of see that there is a frame. Actually, let's, instead of doing that, let's do a new layer. Okay. And we're going to make this layer the, darn it, the background that I want to be black. There we go. Yay. So now you can see the frames. So if I hide that layer 2, the frames go away. If I bring it back up, the frames come back into focus. So right now we have 4 of these. Let's say you really only wanted 1. With the layer selected for the frames, so for us, this is layer 2, I'm going to use my marquee tool, which is the second tool in the toolbar. I'm using the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle around my frame, right-click, and layer via cut. So now, when I hide layer 2, 3 of the 4 frames go away. I still have this layer 3 frame. I can click on my move tool, and now I can move this frame wherever I want it to go. It is isolated. I can also copy the layer and paste it onto a different canvas. I can change the color like we did earlier in these lessons. I can change this to a different color. Let's say I wanted to change it. Let's go to, what do I want to do here? I want to do fill. So let's fill it with the foreground color. We can change it to black. You know, a whole bunch of different things that we can do. So, but we've isolated the frame from the original card. Okay, so, which looks like this, right? And actually, if I stick that on here, you can kind of see it. The black frame there. Okay, so those are the 3 methods that I use for isolating different pieces from these cards. We've got the quick selection tool, the magic wand tool, or the select color range tool. So let's head over to elements and do a lot of these same things there. Starting with the same 3x4 card that has the sun element in the middle, I am going to go over into my select tools, and there are 4 different ones. We've got the marquee tool, the move tool, the lasso, and then the quick selection tool. This one, when you click on the tool itself, your submenu actually shows up down here in the bottom section. So the ones that we're going to focus on are the quick selection tool, the magic wand tool, and then I'll actually show you this auto selection tool as well, just because it's kind of cool. But inside of elements, there is not a color range or a select the color range. You can change the colors in a similar way as the color range, meaning where one of the similar menus comes up. If I go to enhance, adjust color, and replace color, you get kind of the same idea where it will do the selection of the different colors with the black and white. But this is really just to replace the color, not to actually select it. I have not found a way to do that action inside of elements. So let's start with the quick selection tool. In the same way we did before, you can click and drag your mouse in order to select the different pieces. You can also let go of the dragging it and then just click in order to add more. You're going to see that some of the selections get muddled here. It's not too bad though. Okay, so then I can come back in, use my Alt key in order to remove the sections I don't want. like so. That actually looks pretty good. And then I can right click and layer via copy or layer via cut. So let's layer via copy. Let's hide the original background. And now we have the sun with the words and the center, right? So it all looks super good. Okay, so let's delete that layer. And this time, let's use the magic wand. So the magic wand will select everything that's got a similar color around it. So for this one, right now it is selecting my circle, but it's also selecting a lot of the lines and a lot of the speckledy area. So let's actually deselect. So I'm going to click on Control and the letter D. And for this one, let's bring the tolerance. What happens if we bring the tolerance all the way down? So the lower the tolerance goes, the more refined or condensed your selection is going to be, right? So it's not going to go very far outside of the lines of that color. The more tolerance you have, then the more it selects, right? So right now I have the tolerance all the way up, and when I click, it selects the entire card because it's not differentiating between all of those colors. So I typically keep my tolerance pretty low when I am working on these projects. And actually, I might even put it all the way down just so it selects only the portion I want. In the same way, you can use the the shift key in order to bring up the plus sign to add additional portions to your selection, like so. Let's just get all of these selected here. And then you can do the same thing where you layer via, let's layer via copy again. This time I did not select the words, so the words are cut out, which actually can sometimes have a really cool effect as well. But we have isolated the sun away from the card, right? Let's bring those back up. And then the last one I want to show you here on this card is this tool that I actually don't know if this is inside of Creative Cloud because I didn't go looking for it, so it might be there too. But this one is the auto selection tool. For this one, what you're going to do is click and drag a box around the area that you want to select. When I let go, it's going to find the element that it thinks I am wanting to select, and it's just going to put the marching ants around that. So this one is going to give me the entire circle, letting me go ahead and cut that out, and now I just have that circle element. Let's try that again, and this time, let's do that. This time, let's go for this white circle and see if it will just select the white circle. It sure will. So it's just auto-selecting what it thinks is most likely what we want to have selected. So just kind of a cool, quick, easy way to get something selected and isolated if you want, right? So here's just that circle. Pretty cool. All right, let's go over to the frames this time because these ones are a little trickier over here without the select color range. For this one, I'm going to start with the auto select and see if we can just select the frame. The cool thing here is that it kind of sort of did it. It left everything in the middle, which is fine. And it looks like there might be one little section there that is not quite right. So let's zoom in and see what is going on here. Okay. And with the select tool, so again, we're on auto, but I'm actually going to switch to this quick selection. It's going to keep the marching ants. I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to use my minus sign in order to, oh, actually, I think I want to add it. We're going to add that little portion back in. Now, this isn't perfect. As we get closer to the screen, you can start to see that we're picking up a little bit of the pink in between the corners of the scallop. You know, that's up to you if you want to go in there and try to get in there even closer. But for now, we're just going to leave it as is. So with the selection tool, again, I'm going to right click, layer via, let's copy it. And then if I get rid of my original card layer here, you can see the frame is isolated with the color inside of it, which is also kind of cool. So if we go in closer this time, for this one, because I have not found the color range tool here, what I would probably do is use my magic wand in order to grab these pink portions, and once I have it selected, I can hit the delete button and it's just going to remove that color. So I could go in here even closer, get it out of all of those scallops as well. It just is a little bit more time consuming to do it this way, right? But it still works. Let's just get all these top ones done, and then you can see. Okay, so now if I were to go back to my magnifying glass, let's get this back on the screen, and then you can kind of see here, it's hard to see with all that fuzzy background. Ugh. Okay, let's get a new layer here. Yes, that is good. And we're going to make this layer the background. Except I probably want you to be, sure, how about your yellow? No? Okay, deselect. Okay, let's make the background yellow. There we go. So now you can see the frame a little bit better with the background color. All right, so let's again get this onto the screen so you can see the whole thing. And that's essentially how I would isolate the frame this time, using that marquee tool and using the quick selection tool to get rid of the colors in between. Let's bring back up the original. There's the original and the new one, right? So fairly simple, just a little bit tedious. All right, I think that is everything I wanted to show you today. When we come back next week, I'm going to show you how I isolate some text. So some cards that maybe have a text or a title on them. Oftentimes when you are working with digital products, there might not be a digital stamp set that has a title that you want in order to match it to, let's say, a journaling card. So perhaps you want a title that says a little something I loved about today, or you want to use this text in another place, but there's no stamp for it. I'll show you how to isolate the text in order to use it as though it were a stamp or an embellishment that you could add to a page. So that's what we're going to do next week. We're going to be working with isolating text. I hope that this has been helpful for you. For homework, I would suggest pulling up a couple of different journaling cards. Look for ones that have larger elements on them, ones that are maybe more solid in color, because a lot of times the speckledy color is harder to pick up when you are trying to select it. So I highly suggest using cards that have a bit more bold, saturated color to them, and work on trying out all of the different tools for isolating them. So use the magic wand, use the quick selection tool. If you're on Elements, I would love to see you use the auto select tool, and on Creative Cloud, try out the color range selection tool as well. All right, friends, until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in next week's videos. Bye now.